I started out from a very classical background. I'm a classical pianist. I played the violin when I was very young. So I started writing songs that were probably a bit more westernized. My parents had a very eclectic collection of music, and they would introduce me to Fela and King Sunny Ade, Lagbaja, but they also introduced me to the Beatles and Celine Dion and Bob Marley. So I grew up really understanding different types of music, and then playing piano. I was playing pieces, Beethoven, Mozart, and everything. So when I got to music school, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And when I got there, I was now trying to figure out how I can marry those two worlds of singing and playing the piano together. Now, I was now trying to maintain a career in Nigeria. And of course, this is like 10 odd years ago. Afrobeat was like really the thing. This was like when, in fact, this is around Two-Face time when he was really reigning after the Plantation Boys. And there wasn't that much of a space for versatility in a sense. Like the niche of my audience was very, very tiny. It was very hard to sort of communicate my own kind of music to people and market it and actually get traction. So sync for me was my avenue into understanding myself more as an artist, understanding my value as an artist, and getting me more streams. When I moved back from America, my first opportunity was for a song that I had just demoed. I put on SoundCloud. Through certain relationships, I found a music supervisor who took the song and was interested in putting it in a TV series, and that was my first sync placement. And this song is a very slow, very mellow, it's very Adele, Skyfall type of vibe. So it was a song that I was trying to market in Nigeria, but it was just not even working at all. So it then got into sync, and that's how it then got into a TV series, and that's how I got more streams. So that's just to tell you like the power of sync. I know you guys are familiar with that, but I want to really touch on the fact that being yourself and the authenticity of how you tell your story through music is what actually helps with sync opportunities. No matter what kind of genre you're doing, no matter what kind of feeling and vibe that your sound has, it always will have a place in film because so many different types of stories are being told. So many different periods and eras are being talked about in film. So many different topics, social change, it's not just love, it's murders and it's terror and all sorts of things. And the beauty of music is that people can interpret it in different ways as well. And, it can match to different scenes and different feelings. So I know you guys, especially the creators here, I don't really want to talk too much about the creative standpoints because everybody has their own vibe. But just a few little things about what I've learned, also from a music supervisor perspective and film composer, when I actually choose songs as well. So performing artist, but also I choose and curate soundtracks for films. And I would say pacing. Let's talk about pacing as the first thing. So your songs have to have a certain kind of pacing that creates space for the film. So of course it depends on the scene, it depends on the storyline, it depends on so many different things. But what I have learned, whenever I listen out to music, I'm thinking about, okay, how is this story being told? How is this artist trying to communicate what they're trying to say? And how quickly are we getting to the meat of the topic of the song? The next thing I would say is impact. So what I like to call the ebbs and flows of a song. The perfect example is trailers. You know how trailers have a boom and then boom, boom. So a lot of editors love when songs have certain ups and downs that they can cut trailers to, but also in scenes as well. If an editor hears a song that is so dope in terms of how many ups and downs and how many moments and when the verse comes in there's an impact and the chorus comes in there's something else that happens, they are more likely to want to sync to cut to the songs and the various cuts in the scene. Communicate the mood instantly, very key. If you're going for something very ethereal, let us know that this is ethereal from the beginning. Like whether it's in the production, let us be very clear of what kind of song this is. It's just a lot easier for them to immediately place. And then the last thing is make sure that you label your songs very accurately. So do you guys know what metadata is? So metadata is like the tempo of the song, the BPM, for the producers as well. Who said they were producer? Yeah. So the BPM has to be very clear. The mood, if you're using words like ethereal or action-packed or it's not just about genre. It's about how are they going to feel when they hear this song. Sometimes you even have libraries that ask you for certain types of lyrics that Unique is going to talk about more tagging, but you have to be very clear about what you want the supervisor to see before they hear, so that it's just very easy for them. If they want to, if they're typing something in ethereal with talking drum, like even put your instruments there as part of the tags, because that will just like bring your uniqueness out immediately. And then the last thing, okay, so 2 more things. When I was in music school, as a film composer, my teacher would always say, always serve the story first. It's the story that matters. Now, the 2 things about that is sometimes you have the opportunity to write an original song for a film, but sometimes people are just looking for songs to sing. So if you're on the end of actually being commissioned to write a song for a film, a documentary, whatever, an advert, whatever it is, always remember that it's the story that matters first, and that is what you're supposed to draw from in order to put into your music. And that's how you get more, I would say, that's your unique selling points, because you're really listening out for, okay, this producer, this director, this is what they're trying to achieve with this. This is a storyline. How can I bring out this storyline in the music that will make them really feel like, we can't do without this song. Can't do without this song at all in this song or in this film, advert, whatever it is. And then the last thing is really don't dumb down your authenticity. Like, as I said in the beginning, just be very confident about your unique sound. In this day and age, there's just so many different types of music coming out. There's so much versatility now. Artists can go from one genre to the next and not blink. Like, no one is really saying, oh, this artist is an R&B artist, or this person is this. Like, really dive deep into your sound, and don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to really bring out the essence of you in everything that you write. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of been able to give a proper breakdown of what it means to be very intentional about sync as a creative. But if there's one thing I've noticed for every of my colleagues, that's fellow music supervisors across the country, from US to UK, when we talk, and I always ask them that when it comes to selecting music, how have you approached it? So Tolu will just take us through things that, yes, fine, you have this representation by virtue of having a publisher. What do they do when it comes to sync?
Yeah, thank you. So I can count 20 roles of a music publisher, but I'm able to put it into 3. And the first one is we protect the creator's work. We're able to register songs properly, link the ownership to the right persons, and we are able to lay proper foundation. And protection is the foundation, literally. The second one is that we are able to manage the catalog. In the case of the catalog, there are some cases where we have an original song, and then there's a sped-up version or a slow-mo. The artist is dropping an original song, and it is registered. However, the sped-up version is racking more numbers than the original. As a publisher, we are tracking that. We are letting you lock in, keep making music. We are here to check your work, to register it, and ensure that you are getting your right royalties. The third one is that we handle sync intelligence. Sync intelligence is that in a case where there is a song, we're able to determine or classify if the song is, to determine the tempo, to determine the usage history, to determine the mood. So as a music supervisor, when you reach out to us, we're not running back to our catalog to say, oh, Unique needs a song for a love movie. How do we determine it? No, we already classified, we already put the songs in various ranges of playlists. So it's just like you going to Bumper or Jumia. You just go, you shop for your song, and that's it. So now I'm going to talk about 10 lessons that we learned from our last sync placement. And one of it is that royalties follow good metadata. If your metadata is inaccurate, if the ownership is not linked to the right owners, you are not getting money, because how did you register it? That is one. So realize that because we already had accurate metadata, because we were able to link who owns what and who owns this, the sync placement was fast on our own end. I can't say same for the supervisor anyways. Secondly is we know our catalog. We know our catalog inside out. We know what you want. I told Alashe, I need a playlist or a catalog for love, lust, and sex movie. We have it. You want dance? We have it. Afro pop, Afro beats, Amapiano. We have it ready. We just need to determine. Or we ask you, how many do you need? That's it. The second one is that we are able to determine, we're able to actually realize that the lyrics relevance and the emotional tone, it outthrows the artist's popularity. Because they are top songs, does not mean that they would get sync placements. There are some songs with just 1,000 streams, and supervisors would rather opt for that than a popular song. Why? It fits their project. Then the fourth one, I think I'm just going to talk about the fifth one. The fifth one is that localization is rising fast. Now, people have gone far and wide, and they're coming back to the locals. They are preferring indigenous music to the foreign songs, and we prioritize that too. The sixth one is that sync is a long-term game. Sync is not what you wake up this morning and you want to get done. Consistent follow-ups, consistent texting and buzzing. You cannot just say, oh, I want to use 1 week to close out on sync. That doesn't work that way. It's not possible. Another thing is relationship matters. I think Unique can attest to the fact that I like to leverage on mutuality. If I know you, I'd rather go through you than pitch to the person I want directly. I really love it and it works for me. You can also take it. Speed matters. Because on our own part, we have many, many things aligned already, we are very fast when it comes to sync placement. You buzz us or you text us about something that you want, we're able to pinpoint what you want, we're able to determine because we were ready. We had our metadata, we had our catalog, we have our playlisting, we have the songs that we have tracked. We also have tools that we use to make this faster. One of that is Disco. Another thing is that in the end, clean ownership wins. All of this cannot happen if you are unable to ascertain that this is the right owner of a song. I mean, you can go ahead and do it, but I'm sure we know cases where movies have been uploaded and then they put it down. That is literally it. So you can risk it, but in the end, clean ownership actually wins. That's the lesson that we learned from our last sync placement.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. I will just touch on one or two things. Yes, what we do is to fill up the form and submit to the exhibition partner. So the exhibition partner or the streaming platform, for example, can be Netflix. So we submit to the post-production supervisor who submits it to the exhibition platform or streaming platform as the case may be. So once it's submitted, royalties are being accrued. Yes, I understand that Nigeria as a country, we have CMOs issues here and there. But one of the things that we've been able to benefit from is the fact that music is now global, meaning that even music registration is global. So once you're able to understand this structure and ensure that there's proper registration, it's easy for you to be able to track your royalties. Because what usually happens is they come back to us, music supervisors, and say, oh, you promised me that royalties will be accrued from this placement. How come we've not received anything? And we are like, it's not our business. Our work is to just submit the invoice. You cannot go and be meeting in a proper company. The accountant that pays, not the person that... Yeah, so it's just what it is. So most times we always try to let them know that the reason why they've not gotten that is just because whatever society they are affiliated with has not been able to do their work. And that's why having a publisher is always better, because a writer, an individual writer cannot be affiliated with multiple societies, but a publisher can be affiliated with multiple societies due to how they're able to control the territories that they want to get their royalties from. So that's an important aspect. Secondly, like I said, your first placement should never be your last placement. It's always the question of what are you doing differently and how did you treat the people on the other side. That is really music supervisors. How do you treat the filmmakers? I've seen artists like really speak to us in language. I'm like, guy, what is this? What is this like really, really descending tone? And you're like, yeah, fine, the music industry is ahead of the movie industry, but it doesn't mean that you treat us like we don't exist. So things like that, I may not remember the song, but I always remember how you treated me. I always remember how you treated me. And if I'm going to have to do anything with that song, I would think twice and I would advise that, see, I don't have a problem licensing this song, but based on history, this is who these people are. So to a large extent, it's very, very, very important to understand. And if you're looking to like get into the game of music supervision, for me, I would say it's always good to have a good label and publishing experience while you're able to identify where the song is. I will listen to a song as a music supervisor. I'm not telling you it's a Davido that I need to meet. I'm telling you there are 5 people across the chain I need to meet. And that means I need to have 5 different contacts at the nearest level to be able to have that song in a Nollywood movie or in any project I'm working on. So the relationship I've leveraged on years back is what comes to play. People that have been able to have their contacts by virtue of us meeting a place like this, it's just easy that Alpha, I'm not in the SA at the moment, but I need your approval because I know this song needs to be approved from South Africa first before it gets to the UK or gets to US for the final approval. So, and there's also some business around it, meaning that a Davido song, for example, now I keep on using Davido because, okay, I can use Bon, I can use any of them, but yeah, a Davido song, for example, now you may just assume that, oh, because it's Davido, you can just make a call and it gets cleared. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. You have to go through the South African office because the South African office may be representing the entire African catalog. But if it's an international catalog, the South African office will need to still get approval from maybe the UK office. So those kind of long structure, if you don't know it, you may just get frustrated trying to get a song approved and it's taking weeks and it's taking months. So that has really, really helped us in the business of music. Then after that, the next thing that happens is things like soundtrack. I've seen how soundtrack build popularity around an artist. I've seen how soundtrack has been able to trigger even down to TikTok income. And I'm like, oh, that soundtrack just became popular, and we check the back end, maybe 500 video creation, and we check, based on this 500 video creation, this is the prorated amount of money that has been generated or accrued when it comes to publishing income, and this is how much the writer is benefiting from. That is a pipeline that has moved from creation to pitching to placement and now to consistent income over time. So that has been a very, very interesting side of the business that people always overlook. And they come in and like, but they told us that sync, once you land the sync placement, you've blown. And in my head, I'm like, what happens after the film is no longer my business? Or what happens after post-production is no longer my business? It's not your business. How do you leverage on the popularity that the film controls? I've seen them labels that are so smart because they know that this old catalog from 2010, 1990 is going to be used in a sync placement. You start seeing something like editorial, you start seeing something like doing an interview, and the artist talking about how he felt in 1990 when he recorded that song, and you are thinking that, which song is this? You are not like very curious about it. Then you randomly, in your head, you assume you randomly, now stop more on that song in a movie. But because he has done that interview, something has connected. Every other song will be played, but that song will be different. Why? Because there's been a level of touch. As much as that thing looks like is a coincidence, it's actually strategic. It's actually strategic, and it's not based on us, what we did. It's actually based on what you actually did as a writer or as a producer or as an artist. So those are the things that we don't talk about. An artist is just coming like, I'm not interested in having my song being placed. It's not as if it does anything to the back end. But the question is, what are you doing on the back end? It doesn't necessarily have to be the big placement. It doesn't necessarily have to be the big project. But more importantly, even the filmmaker can now get to know about you. Then you now say things like, oh, Unique, I've heard this person sing. I like this person sing. Can we have this person on our project? My hands automatically becomes tied because I have to look for you. So that's how it works when it comes to like understanding that your first sync placement should not be your last sync placement. It should open the doors for further sync placement.
Thank you.